Hi everyone, it's Allison here. Welcome to the session that brings it all together in a way. This is the Transform Emotion into Energy series, and today we're diving into working with the emotions of sadness and overexcitement to transform those into their healthy state, which is that of creating harmony. Who would like a little more harmony? Who would like to be more present to the harmony that perhaps already is there that we're just not aware of as well? Yeah. So for our time together today, as always, I'll be diving into some of the left brain information. Any questions along the way, feel free to go ahead and type that on into the chat feature, and I'll get to those as we make our way through the material. And know that we're not done. We're not done. Even though it's session number 5, I added on 2 more integration sessions, and you're not going to want to miss them. It's actually work that I don't typically talk a whole lot about. The first integration session happens tomorrow, Saturday, June 5th at 4:30 p.m. MDT time zone. Okay? And that one's going to be primarily focusing on how the emotions actually weave together. So we've been talking about them individually, but I've never talked about the mother-child relationship that exists in the Sheng cycle. So we're going to actually dive into that material on the first integration session. And I'm getting lots of juicy feedback. These sessions are pretty darn powerful. So integration work may be helpful for those of you who are feeling the call. The second session is on Sunday, June 6th, and that's actually at 8 a.m. MDT time zone, switching things up a little bit to make them accessible for people around the globe who are on these calls. I only get about maybe 5 to 10% joining live. The majority of you are listening to the recordings, although that may be also because we had a couple of bugs that are now worked out on the website. My webmaster is a genius at sorting that out, so thank you to her for doing that all. And for our time together today, in addition to talking about the material at hand, I have an exciting little announcement of an offer that's going to be available for the next few days. Okay, so that's what we are looking at for the next few days. If you're interested to join on in, please do. The only cost for that is, of course, to share, as you know. And as always, there is no pressure on that. So if that just doesn't seem to work for you to share on social media or share in some other way, like talking to a friend, then so be it. No worries, leave that, okay? And if you're open to sharing, I'm going to be posting it on YouTube, on Vimeo, on Facebook. And it's always such a blessing when that work gets shared. It's the way that small biz owners and entrepreneurs like me get out there. Those algorithms are interesting. Every month they seem to switch things around on how accessible our information can get out. So all the support is welcome on that front. Yeah. Okay, loves. Thank you to all those who have shared. Thank you to you all for being here and feeling the call to do this work. I'm going to invite you, if you haven't already, just to find a nice, quiet, cozy place where you can either sit and really just settle into taking a little bit of information before we dive into the session. Feel free to lay or stand and move if you're out and about, of course, too. Okay. So for starters, let me begin by thanking all that's brought you here. This land that we walked on, this earth that supports us, and your ancestors, your families, and all that's brought you into being, into this body mind of yours. Thank you for being you. All of you is welcome here. Thank you for bringing all of you here. Now, the emotions of joy and harmony are the healthy states of that sadness and the overexcitement. Now, there's actually nothing really wrong, let me back that up, to sadness either. It's what's meant to give rise to compassion, which literally translates to being with suffering. Brené Brown has some great videos out there if you're familiar with her, and if not, feel free to check them out, on empathy versus sympathy. They're some of my favorites that I continuously share with people. The empathy piece ties in very strongly to that compassion that we derive from being present to the sadness within. When we get drawn inward to sit with our own suffering, we develop the compassion, the ability to sit with others who are also going through suffering. The opposite to that would be sympathy. Yeah, and sympathy just generally doesn't always feel so good in our bodies. It usually starts with something like, well, at least you, well, you should be grateful for. Yeah, those types of statements. Yeah. Or there can be an element of pity in there. Oh, you poor thing. Yeah. Which doesn't overly empower, typically speaking, many of us. So as we dive into these states of emotionalities and looking at their healthy roles, sadness giving rise to compassion, joy is in the mix of all the emotions. It's actually meant to be your natural state. It is your birthright to experience joy alongside of everything else that you experience in your lives. Perhaps it's joy that actually is our life force energy, disguised in many different names and technical terms. This emotion of joy has been with you always. If we're not present to it, it's usually because there's some stuff blocking it. One of the easy ways to cover up joy really quickly is with the emotion of sadness. It becomes challenging to become difficult, and it becomes difficult to be present to the joy that's there if sadness overwhelms us. Sadness is different from grief. Grief we can point to usually and say, oh, it's here, it's there, it's somewhere in my body. However, sadness tends to be that all-pervasive, covering us in every fiber, every pore, and we just don't want to seem to go anywhere or move off the couch or even lift up the remote to change the channel on the TV. It just seems like a lot of work. Yeah. So the balance here between joy and sadness is also meant to be supportive within this fire element. They're meant to balance each other, and joy is also meant to balance additionally all the other emotions in the body mind. The way that this happens is primarily through the heart. The heart meridian, the heart energy center, has a lot of different names to it. The energy of the heart is that place of neutrality, which has no opinion. It doesn't actually have anything else to do other than to be. Mm-hmm. And it carries with it, within that realm of beingness, the capacities to access love, respect, harmony, dignity. You've been hearing me talk about these in the previous 4 sessions, for those of you who have joined us for those ones. And we've been slowly working up to this, whether you saw it coming or not. Heart 1 acupuncture point is deep within the armpits at the subscapularis muscle that it also rules. The heart is the yin aspect of the fire element. And the subscapularis, the yin being more core, is one of those deeper muscles to access. You know, if you've ever shoved your own finger in or you had your massage therapist dig in, you're like, oh, I can feel that, like all the way to my soul. That's the pain of a tight subscapularis muscle. And that muscle can literally close off the heart, or it can open up to allow for that heart expression, that heart energy to be, to move, to groove, to support you and your vitality. Now, for this yin, for this heart muscle, heart meridian, pardon me, it has other areas where it flows. That's primarily the only muscle group that it governs. It flows along. Can't drink water and explain that at the same time. Give me one sec. The heart meridian flows along that baby finger, line of the body coming through to that armpit, going into the heart, of course. And there's a couple of internal branches that go down to the stomach. If you've ever heard that expression that we used to say, and it might be kicking around still these days, it feels like an old-timey expression to me. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, which involves a lot of particular worldviews behind that. So, but the sentiment still holds. The meridian goes internally towards the stomach, and there's also a really interesting branch of the heart meridian that goes up and around. The heart meridian gives rise to your facial expression, to your affect. How willing are you to show what it is you're feeling? How willing are you to express what it is you need via your facial expressions? An easy way to block that all off and to shield the heart energy is just not to move our face, to go stony with it. Yeah. And there's lots of work that's been done in experiments with babes called still face, meaning instead of the mother or the caregiver at hand making expressive faces, they ignore the child's needs, they keep the face still, and it almost immediately, honestly, sends babes into overreaction mode. They don't feel safe, they don't feel supported, they don't feel protected. That's how important this heart energy is to rise up to the face and to allow for that expressionality of it all. And if that child was repeatedly exposed to something like that, it sets them up to have very difficult times in life attuning to other people and reading their facial cues and their facial expressions. And it sets them up to have difficulties usually with attachments. There's all sorts of information out there. Feel free to Google. We could spend hours, days on just this one point alone. Okay? So the heart meridian supports all of that, as it supports the processing of your different states of sadness and joy. And the joy pieces that are not so healthy, the unhealthy versions of joy, in case that's new information or a little bit confusing, maybe things that we haven't thought about before, can show up in a couple of forms. Like overexcitement. There's almost like a nervous twitching type of energy that goes with overexcitement. I'm so excited, I can't wait to open up my Christmas presents in the morning type of energy. You think back to when you were a little kid, that energy coursing through you, that overexcitement. And maybe some of us are feeling that way right now with the world opening back up in certain ways, potentially here. The other element to the less than healthy joy is that of nostalgia, which is usually when we're looking at those old times, maybe in a photo album. Oh, life's never going to be as good as this again. Look at when this happened. And do you remember when she did that and he did this, and they're grown up and we're never going to get those moments back again. Yeah. And that carries with it not the pure energy of joy. Joy is meant to have your back at all points in time. It's meant to be at the very core of you. It's meant to create this sense of calm, deep calm, and stillness within. It's meant to give rise to your capacity to just simply be. To just simply be. To just simply be as you are. So on that note, you can also hear acceptance. You can hear compassion. You can hear love. Yeah? So all of these pieces weave together. In addition to that, the essence of the heart is working with the sense of touch, meaning can you reach out and touch the world with how it is you're expressing yourself, perhaps verbally, non-verbally, with your hands? Yeah. Can you feel in touch with yourself? Self-awareness comes from here as well. The other pieces to the yin aspect, the heart aspect of this, is our wisdom, our capacity to deeply synthesize life and just know, and have that wisdom, not of the intellect. That's very different and not usually all that helpful, although an initial starting point, which is necessary. The integration of that wisdom, that knowing, has to come from here. Yeah? So the heart knows. One of the examples that I can tie into this is, have you ever just been able to finish somebody else's sentence like out of thin air. You're like, oh, I think they mean this, and you just have that automatic knowing of what they're going to say next. Or if they're stumbling for a word and you offer it and it completes their sentence exactly how they meant to, and they go, how did you know that? Yeah, that's one of the capacities that we speak to when we're talking about that capacity to know, to just know, to have knowing. Yeah. Now, the yang aspect works with the small intestine. The small intestine and the heart um, are not quite as coupley as the others, might we say. The other meridians tend to have a very strong coupley connection. You can see how they tie in together. The small intestine does do a little bit of tie-in for sure, though. The small intestine clears up any confusion. It provides discernment. It supports the intellect in its knowing before it moves down to the heart. So it's that first step, if we will. And it creates clarity out of turbidity. So it can calm down things that just seem a little bit turbulent or turbid in nature. Okay. So that's one of the ways that we can speak to the small intestine meridian. And it runs more so on the the back of the arm here. And as it goes through the back of the arm, it goes all the way through the back of the shoulder blade, and it branches up into that area where the skull joins the spine. Okay? Now, well, more so I should say around and loops around to the ear, but I seem to see it brushing it past just where that skull joins the spine, with its energy fields, as well as going into that area right around the ear. Now, the small intestine works with, as we mentioned, intellect, awareness, discernment. And when we combine that with the knowing of the heart, it allows for what's referred to as maximum expansion. In Chinese medicine, the fire element is about how big do you want to go? How big can you get? How much more expansion is available inside of you? How much more space would you like inside of you? How much more ease would you like inside of you? Fire element helps to expand these pieces. And as it does so, it also connects to, interestingly enough, the taste of bitterness. The taste of bitterness lands on the taste buds on the portion of the tongue that also correlate to the fire element. It's the tip of our tongue in particular, which we use to communicate in a different kind of a way. And instead of verbally, well, it might be verbally as well, but we also communicate a lot by sharing tongues, by kissing, or when your dogs lick you. Yeah, that's them just sharing their little hearts with you. Yeah. And it's why humans tend to enjoy kissing each other. We're literally sharing and connecting our heart energies together and helping them to expand even more. Forgive the background doggy noises. They're not quite settled, but they just got home from their walk. Now, what else can I share with you about the fire element? And about this emotion of joy and of sadness and how they can work together. The big piece that I think I haven't talked about yet is that the heart connects to the Shen, which is our center of spirit, the center of I am, beyond all labels, just this I am. Complete sentence, I am. Yeah. And it correlates to house number 5 in astrology. This is the house of pleasure, of play, of joy, of creativity. And just out of curiosity, have you ever heard of anybody getting heart cancer? Yeah, me either. Me either. It does exist. It's exceptionally rare, almost unicorn rare. I have a rating system of horses, zebras, unicorns. It's virtually a unicorn, just on the other side of unicorn. It's got a lot of zebra energy to it. You just don't see many of those around, hence the rating system. So when we are looking at this energy of the heart, there's something special about it. We don't tend to see heart cancer real commonly, and the heart energy field is 60 to 100 times stronger than any other energy fields in your entire body mind. And in a way, it cocoons and encompasses everything. When we make changes of the heart, it can't help but move through that sense of spirit and contain you in that cocooning energy that surrounds you. It actually has a specific shape, the double torus. And that double torus can also be found in every single red blood cell. So your heart energy continues to move through this cardiovascular system. Also, I like to think of the prefrontal cortex in our brain, our center of wisdom and empathy, works with a few things, those are a couple, as being much like the heart that's up here in our head to help balance the intellect and give it that same heart energy that's available. Okay, so when we work with this fire element, this joy, this sadness, the synthesis of it all, can you see how play, how pleasure, how that enjoyment of little kids and how they just so easily access the capacity to just simply be in the moment can tie in here. So anytime we talk about the heart, we have to talk about that little inner child energy. The natural planetary energy that's here for the heart is that of the sun. It's a warming up. It's a bringing warmth and life and bringing the expression of you to its fullest potential. The heart's always calling you home to express just that. Now, as we move into the 6th house, this is where we see the small intestine energy come in. This is the house often referred to of reevaluation of health. So this is where we look to figure out what's been working, what hasn't been working, and what do I need to do about that. That's really hard to do if we don't have access to pleasure, if we don't have access to spirit. It just becomes dry and crunchy. We beat ourselves up. We criticize ourselves. Anybody relate to, I got to get this goal done. I got to reevaluate this. I got to start that new program. I'm going to do this. And we become very exceptionally goal-oriented when it comes from a place that doesn't involve heart energy. When we bring the pleasure, the play, that energy with it, then it can create inspiration. We can feel inspired to move our bodies rather than, I got to work out. No, doctor said I have to lose weight. Instead of that, we actually can feel the inspiration and the desire to enjoy this body-mind and play with it, instead of thinking of it as a chore to have to take care of. It moves the goalpost from I have to I get to. It moves us from I have to I get to. So you can tell perhaps I'm a little in love with this heart, which is driven solely by these emotions. Now, if, however, we consider those emotions to be personal, we think that they are ours, we think that these emotions are our sadness, that somebody made us feel sad, wherever we're thinking that it's coming from, or maybe it's just out of the blue type of sadness that comes over us, as soon as we think that it's personal, that emotion, that energy and motion that's meant to move through to create all those elements that I've referred to so far gets diminished, it gets lost, it isn't actually accessible anymore in this same way. So when we look to work with this material, as you can tell in the previous, if you've been enjoying some of those other ones, we're going to be working with Body Talk, as well as I tend to weave in the Sedona method a fair bit here. And I offer some work with that, and I will be diving into talking about an offer here in just a moment. I'm just going to check the chat feature. And if you have a question that you'd like to send to me directly, you're welcome to do that too. Or you can just send it to everyone if you feel the call to do that. Okay, so know that you have options when you're typing those in. And now I'd love to just quickly share my screen here with you all. And the thing that I wanted to share with you is on my website, vibranttransformation.com. If you like the work that we've been doing in our time together during this series, and you're feeling the call to take a deeper dive into it all, then I invite you to check out Buddhas and Butterflies. This course only gets offered once a year. It's a subscription, meaning much like a Netflix subscription. You'll have access to content, and every week we'll be adding in a session. So we do in total 4 sessions a month, one a week, and we take a deeper dive into looking at how these emotions, fear, anger, grief, worry, joy, sadness, as well as the other ones that I have yet to talk about, shame, apathy, guilt, anxiety. I talked about that a little. And we're going to tie in those as well. So Buddhas and Butterflies, it's open today. It just came open. It's going to continue to be open until Monday. However, you're going to want to get in on it earlier rather than later. There's a couple of really sweet bonuses using some of that reveal and release work that I derived from the Sedona method. And on here, if you scroll down, the subscriptions are either monthly, it works out to $77 a month, or annually for $770 a year. So you save about 150 or so, if my math is right there, 154, I think. And that's an option that's available for those of you who feel the call. Now, I never promise to offer the same rate, so this might not be available next year when I open it up again. The last group actually paid this rate just because of the world circumstances that are happening right now. This is the only time I haven't actually upped the rates, so this is a one-off. And this course is open to all those who are either self-healers or healthcare practitioners. So if you're a human being, if you're a self-healer, if you're a parent, if you are working in the area of alternative healthcare or traditional healthcare alike, and you're feeling the call for a little extra support, know that this course is available. I keep calling it a course, but really it's more of a weekly membership. Now, the weekly schedule is, for instance, actually, I think I have it on here. Let me scroll down to it. Oh, I do. Excellent. We'll be starting next week on June 9th, and we're going to be orienting, moving through the motions in this same pattern. We're going to start by looking at sensual touch. So is there fear, and how it is you're touching? Is there fear around receiving touch? Touch also correlates to how it is you're touching the world with your speech. Are we fearful to express ourselves in that way? Okay. And then we'll next week after that dive into the anger, third week grief. Then we take a pause so you can catch up if you need to, do some integration. I do a session on that week, and I'll record it and post it so you can go to them at any time. You don't need to join live, and you'll have access to them as long as you're a member. So as long as you are in the membership, however you so choose, monthly or annual, it'll be available for you. Then we keep going with sensual touch for a second month. We dive into the worry, the sadness, and then the extra emotions, the combo emotions as they're referred to. What are the combinations of? That's a little different for everybody and for every person. I'll talk a bit about them on the, the July 19th call. I'll dive into a little bit of information on that. And then after that, there's another integration week. Okay? Now, in this, I primarily use the BodyTalk framework as the framework. And then from there, I'll tie in additional tools. So Sedona method is a big part of it. I've been studying a lot of trauma tools lately. So you'll see elements and pieces that are derived adjacent from modalities such as compassionate inquiry with Dr. Gabor Mate, who I have the luxury of studying with right now. So thankful. And somatic experiencing with Peter Levine's work, internal family systems with Richard Schwartz's work. And we'll also be potentially even including a little bit of breath work, which I haven't done yet to the other groups that have been on Buddhas and Butterflies. So we might just play with a little bit of that. I've been exploring how to do it with a larger group in a way that will work for everybody's needs. Okay? So it's the only reason I haven't done it sooner. So you can read all about it here. I won't take too much time. Just know that the info is available here, and to be honest with you, this is my favorite way to support healthcare practitioners and self-healers alike. This is my favorite way that I get to make an impact on the world and support everybody in developing their capacities, as well as their capacity to receive support. That's the biggest one in there. And I don't know very many healthcare practitioners who dedicate self-care as their number one priority. And this is an opportunity to prioritize that in a different kind of a way, a way where you get to literally just be. You just get to be. You just get to be. Yeah. And as we explore whatever's in the way of you just being, yeah, they may take on some interesting journeys and adventures, and we'll explore all those too as we go. So this is honestly the thing that I see, that people get a lot of capacity built up again, a lot of resiliency built up again. And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes it's challenging to make that all work. It's challenging to fit everything in a day. So this is one way that where you can just sign up. It's kind of like a set it and forget it thing to a certain extent, because you've made the commitment. You've checked that box of saying, I'm going to take this, and then every week all you need to do is show up. And if you don't show up live, that's fine too. The recordings are going to be available for you, so you can do them at your leisure in the timing that works for you in a way that's supportive for you. So sometimes people end up doing all 4 sessions, in a couple of days. They end up splitting it up differently. Or sometimes people just do 1 session a month because the others aren't calling to them. And that works really well too. So this is here to meet your needs, not something that you have to do every single bit of in order to get the luxury of the benefit from. Once a month, it's if you were to go for a session with me, it would cost you an additional $100, for instance. So this is a really affordable way to receive sessions at a fraction of the cost, which also really calls to my soul. It's one of the main reasons I started to work in this fashion. So if you're looking for a little bit more support, if you're looking for a new place to come from in your life, you're looking for some new experiences to have, if that critical doubter perfectionist piece of you, it seems to be louder and louder and you just need another way, if you're looking for some community, if you're looking to embrace a different way of being, this is a place to feel that support, to receive that, to drink that in, and to savor that and allow it to nourish you. Allow it to nourish you. And it's really easy. I mean, how easy is it in our go-go worlds just to let everything, take over, rather than remembering to take time out to just be. So this is a way where we can hit that pause button and just check in to see what's going on for ourselves, what's going on for us. Now, my favorite quote, I think I shared this a few days ago as well, is that every session feels like you're treating just me. And well, I am in a way. That interconnectedness that speaks to us all means that we're far more alike than we are different. It's that melting point. It's that melting pot, really, of similarities, or it's spoken to in many different ways. Oneness, not two-ness, namaste. We use all sorts of different words to get to that capacity of just beingness. And when we weave together all of us in that state of beingness, it's really easy as a group energy to receive even more. There's something about a group energy that allows for just that additional support to happen. It's one of my favorite ways to work with people. I definitely work with individuals, and not to the exclusion of individuals. Do I love groups? I really enjoy my one-on-one time as well. But there's something really powerful about group energy. It seems to just like rocket fuel, there we go, allow for that expansion, maximum expansion. And well, I'm a fire body, so I like a maximum expansion a lot. So this is my favorite place to play and be. Okay, love. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to let me know. I'll talk a little bit about them on the next couple of calls for integration as well. You can read up about it all here that you like, and feel free to send me any questions that you have about that. Yeah, and in the chat feature, somebody who's already in the group mentioned that she says it's the best self-care love that I do for me. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. All right, loves. If you haven't already, let's have you make your way to a nice, quiet, cozy place now as we get ready for the session. We're just going to softly switch gears here. Finding a supportive setup for your body, for your mind to just be. And then connecting to the breath. Connecting to the breath. As you breathe here, scanning your body mind, just noticing what's here for you. And if it calls to you, I invite you to scan your external environment, finding a resource, something that's either pleasant or at the very least neutral to you. And if ever you need, you can touch back on this whenever you so desire. For now, just finding that thing that's pleasant or neutral. And just allowing your body to receive, to savor, to enjoy this, to drink this in. What if it was your birthright to receive pleasure? And as you drink that in, noticing your body mind again, scanning it, noticing any changes. And perhaps by means of breathing now, inviting in that pleasantness from the external, the seeming external, into you. And as you breathe that in, once again, just noticing the impact. What's different? What's changed inside of you? And as you're scanning your body mind, I also invite you to find something inside of you that may be pleasant or at the very least neutral. If it's available, no need to push, just looking and seeing what's here. And if there's nothing that's speaking to you from the body, it might be a memory, a time in which you felt most yourself. Or it may be recalling a loved one. Wherever your attention went with that, I invite you to drink in and savor that too, and allowing that to be here. Yeah, thank you. Knowing that you can touch in on these resources externally, internally, whenever you feel called to do so. Okay. And as we begin here, connecting to that breath again. And as you're breathing, inviting in this life, this precious spirit, this precious energy that's yours, this life, this oxygen. It's all an invitation. It's all an invitation to receive even more deeply this pleasure, this joy of life, of living, of being alive. Every exhale, an opportunity to release, to let go of all that's no longer serving, all that's not fueling the heart. Yeah, thank you. Every breath an opportunity to sink a little deeper into support, into that cushion below you, into receiving how deeply held you are. And whatever you're lying or sitting on, knowing that it's connected to the earth, you may have to go through a little layering of furniture and flooring. Underneath there's earth. There's earth. There's land. Can you feel the support of this earth, of this land? And deeply drinking that in and receiving the pleasure of this support in this way, allowing yourself to be here, nothing to do. Nothing to prove. Nowhere to go. You're already here. Nothing to be. You're already it. What if you're already that which you're seeking for? As we settle into the sessions for today, we're going to start off by working with a specific functionality of the heart meridian. And it works to houses our mind to balance our emotions and our thinking. As it's balancing that, it also controls our touch, our ability to feel ourselves and this world through an even-keeled state of thinking and feeling as it integrates these emotions for you. And as we work with these, we're going to start with heart 1 acupuncture point that's deep within that armpit region. And we're running a permissions here. It is safe to begin again. What if every heartache was just simply a call to compassion? And what if the connection to compassion deepens and grows from that place of tender heartache, from having your heartache, from being broken over and over and over again. That tenderness that's here giving rise to compassion. And just allowing that tenderness to be here, welcoming it, welcoming the vulnerability, the tenderness. And as you become present to welcoming that, noticing if there's any stories, thoughts, judgments, ideas around needing to protect, needing to safeguard, needing to close off, needing to defend in some way, shape, or form against tenderness and vulnerability. Can you welcome and allow that to be here too? And welcoming anything else about that, right along with it all. And just watch if the mind went into any, I have to fix this, I have to do something about that, this has to be different than what it is. Just welcoming and allowing that to be here. Welcoming all the need to do, change, save, fix, support. Welcoming all of that. Yeah, what if being a loving presence didn't require any of that? Just welcoming this all to be here. And then with this, now welcoming the sense that this heartache is yours, that it's personal, that you're the one who has to carry it. Yeah, thank you. And now welcoming what is beyond all of this, welcoming the all. Just breathing into this state and allowing yourself to be here just as you are. As we work with this heart one acupuncture point, we're linking it into the small intestine and then down to the large intestine to support releasing with discernment what's no longer disturbing here. The discernment piece coming from the small intestine, the large intestine supporting the release to letting go. And in a way, the large intestine meridian almost runs somehow, in my mind anyways right now, between the heart, where it branches up to the face, and the small intestine, where it goes to the ear. This large intestine, powerfully present and available, to release, to let go, and to grieve these heartaches, to grieve these tendernesses, to grieve and release the grievances of the hearts that may be blocking the capacity to open. And as that comes in for support, working with cellular repair, which restores cells back to their fullest potential of health. And we're doing that for the entire cardiovascular system as we allow this energy of the heart to move through every single cell via the heart. And the heart itself is thought to be an organ, not as a pump, but as a resting place of stillness. It's actually considered to be this pause point before the blood races out again to work by spreading its wisdom, its information, its chi throughout the entire body mind. And just allowing this cardiovascular system to remember to recognize that its job is not to be a pump. It's not meant to effort to do. It's just allowed to be just as it is. To support that, we're going to hydrate the ventricles of the brain. If we take the ventricles of the brain out and we twist them at just the right angle, they actually form the Sanskrit letter AUM, Om. Yeah, and as we hydrate the ventricles of the brain where the CSF, the cerebrospinal fluid, flows, this hydration helps to absorb the water, the joy, and release any impurities that just don't need to be here. It also additionally aligns the molecules of crystallinity to be in a certain state that Gerald Pollack, you can Google him on YouTube, works with EZ water, EZ water. And this state of crystallinity allows for the alignment of the water to repel any impurities. As we hydrate the ventricles, it actually supports the capacity for the heart to be in alignment with that state of being. There's a strong connection between these two. We're also going to hydrate the heart meridian. And as it flows throughout the branches through the arms, throughout to that baby finger, it's also flowing into those internal branches, going down to the stomach and rising up to the face again. We don't actually wear our hearts on our sleeves, we wear them on our faces. As we restore heart flow, heart chi flow through to this face of yours, what are you willing to express? Are you willing to feel the feelings, to express the needs? What are you willing to step into here? And as you ponder that, we're running a cellular repair on anything that's getting in the way of restoring that connection of expression from the heart and allowing it to be seen. As we work with the cellular repair around being seen and the fear of being seen, it's carrying with it the fear of being loved, the fear of getting what it is you want, the fear of success. They're all tied in here as if they were one and the same. Perhaps they are. Perhaps they are. And we're unhooking this belief system of I am not supported. I am not supported. And as the heart energy is received in this branch upwards, allowing for its fullest expression, we're bringing in the planetary energy of the sun to support it. Just like how you feel when the sun hits your face, or maybe you just even turn your face towards the sun sometimes. I'm a bit of a sun worshiper, so that's how I tend to think of it, but that may not land for you, and that's okay. We're bringing in the warmth of that personal sense of your fullest expression of you and your life potential. And just allowing for this energy to radiate through the face into the nerves, the cranial nerves that innervate here, primarily the facial nerve and cranial nerve 5 as it goes throughout the face here. Okay, and as we work with that innervation of it all, we're unhooking a series of ancestral memories from when times were tough. There wasn't a lot of joy, there wasn't a lot of food, things were lacking. There wasn't a lot of pleasure, of enjoyment, of the finer things in life, of the sweeter things in life. And we're looking at all those times in which they just felt weighed down by life, like life was a stone or a rock they had to carry, creating stoniness, sourness, dourness in the face. We look at photos from people in the 1930s in the depression that happened then, not a lot of smiles, not a lot of smiles. So imagine that as we address this, we're also going back a little further than 1930s. We're going back through to 7 generations worth, and we're unhooking those elements throughout the ancestral lines of sourness, of dourness, of having to wear heavy-heartedness on your face. As we release this, releasing layer after layer after layer of sadness, and we're going into that kidney 24 point, the spiritual burial ground, and the pathway that I've mentioned in the session number 1 in this series that works with, and releasing sadness from those family lines. Yeah, and as we release this ancestral burden from your body, healing the lineage, opening up to receive even a little bit more of that sunshine energy, of that joy, of that love, respect, dignity that other ancestors also were carrying. Bringing in that connection to that ancestral wisdom, that ancestral joy that's also here. The ancestors who knew how to laugh, dance, play, celebrate, worship, love. Those ancestors who were in sync, in union with nature itself. It's all being defined by the consciousness of living naturally, living naturally. And as we release this burden from the ancestral lines, also releasing the need to live in lack, the need to do without, the need to live in lack, the need to do without. That's coming off the pericardium. Now, I didn't talk about the pericardium and triple heater, because otherwise these calls would be getting, into the 2-hour mark. The triple heater and pericardium also work with synthesizing joy and sadness, and they also work with the element of fire. Okay? And here we're working with the external lining of the heart. This pericardium also has a meridian that also runs down through the length of the arm, and has an internal branch as well that goes down towards the stomach region there. Okay. And this external lining of the heart, you can think of as carrying heart protection. heart protection. And right now, it's trying to protect the heart by information of saying, you're in lack. You don't have enough. You better stay small. Don't express. Get a little closer. Get a little tighter. Contract a little bit more. Stuff it all in there. Don't let anybody see your joy. They might take it too. And we already don't have enough to go around. So you better hide what you do have. Better to stay small and hidden and safe than risk reaching out to embrace love, support, abundance, what it is you want. We're just unwinding that energy off of the pericardium and allowing it, asking us to give it just a little more space to be and to make, more informed decisions now that we've done some of this other work. Yeah. And as we do this, it's bringing in the consciousness of loving presence that the heart carries in and of itself, reminding the heart of its capacity to be loving presence. And that in turn also creates just a little bit more space, allowing for the pericardium to loosen up. We're going to do an emotional release of fear energy, interestingly enough, from that pericardium. And then we're also doing another emotional release of sadness from that pericardium. What if none of this was your burden to carry any longer? And as we work with this, I invite you to take a hand to the pericardium, to the heart area is where you'll find that. It's just the external lining of the heart is what we can use as a focal point for it. And as you breathe into this space around the heart, the external lining of the heart, the perimeter of the heart, connecting to the emotion of sadness and noticing what's here for you. For those of you that felt drawn to work more so with the fear piece that I spoke to earlier, you're welcome to focus on that as well, or just solely on that. I'm going to take care of both. Pick one, fear or sadness, or both if you feel called to. Although it may be easier to just pick fear or sadness. I'm going to talk about sadness since it's Sadness Day that we're working with here. But know that I'm paying attention to both. As you connect to the emotion of sadness, just notice, does it have a feeling? And if sadness had a taste or a smell, what would it taste or smell like? And if sadness had a sound, a noise, a word, a message, a phrase, what would it like to express? You're even welcome to speak that, tone that out loud or internally. And then noticing what this looks like. What does sadness here look like? Does it have an image, a color, a texture? And just roughly noticing how much is here for you. Just roughly the shape of a pea, a ping pong ball, a grapefruit, volleyball, beach ball, bigger. And then breathing into all that's here for you, making it more seemingly rich, dense, alive, making it more intense. And as you intensify it, as you breathe into it, loosening up the edges of all that's here. And then just breathing that energy all into your hand now. For those of you who prefer the countdown, in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to support it with a little cough there as it releases. And we create more space. Yeah. Feel free to take another pass or two. And on that cough, in case this is relevant to anyone, I could feel smokiness leaving the body. That might be nicotine, or it might be smokiness from ashes, thinking back to the spiritual burial ground that we worked with. Or it might mean something else, if it means anything at all to you. Don't overthink it, but if something arises for you, but there's meaning for you, feel free to lean into that and explore for yourselves. As I tap this in, inviting you to breathe into this space, taking your hand right back to that pericardium, and just noticing with all 5 senses again, how does it feel, taste, smell? How does it sound? What does it look like? If there's any sense of emptiness or void, feeling devoid, and that doesn't feel supportive for you, then I invite you to bring in lights, breathing in gold, silver, whatever color light calls to you, pink, white, breathing in sunlight and moonlight, breathing in the night star, the night sky, breathing in bioluminescent lights from the ocean at night. Breathing in life. And if that area wasn't feeling that, then no worries, just allow that to be as it is. And tap that in again, and I invite you to take another slow, gentle breath here. Now this is linking into, this heart is linking into a specific stage of embryological development. On day 15, the heart starts to beat. Well, the elements come together roughly, and summing up embryology very broadly. And if mom or dad or anyone else in the environment around mom or dad, but a particular mom and dad, had a knockdown, angry fight, or there was disruption at the level of their heart for whatever reason, that carries information, and babes often imprint that. So as we go back into fetal life, we're going back into day 15. And I just see the energy of a little bit of tumultuousness for some of you, and for others of you, there's a lot of turbidity, a lot of tumultuousness here. As we work with this, we're going back into that space and time, bringing in the essence of the small intestine energy to create discernment here, and allowing that to create clarity. So just imagine knowing what you know now at this age, that you could talk to yourself as just a few cells big, really, on day 15 of life, and let your little self know that you made it through, that you're safe, that you're okay, that things aren't tumultuous, aren't turbid in this way anymore. Yeah, and just like you soothe a newborn crying with that same energy, with that same love, with that same respect and care, with that same respect and care to tenderness, breathing in that essence into your heart space. Across all space and time, the heart energy can connect us. It moves far beyond the borders of space and time, in my personal experience. As we work with this, we're running a cellular repair for day 15 of that fetal life, restoring those cells back to their fullest potential of health, as well as running a body chemistry, which supports the immune system, which works with acceptance versus rejection, and releasing several different memories around whatever information that was received here, feeling like it was a rejection, and setting up the heart to carry the essence of, is that person going to reject me or accept me? and that dance of not knowing, and that creating a certain element of sadness in and of itself. So the sadness between rejection and acceptance is in here. As we work with that with body chemistry, clearing out that toxicity, if we want to think of it on a broader scale, not like a heavy metal toxicity, but the toxicity of uncertainty. We're also now looking at another flavor here of abandonment and betrayal. The abandonment itself is the betrayal. As we look at those belief systems, people abandon me, people betray me, abandonment is betrayal, betrayal is abandonment. As you breathe into that, I'm feeling just a little more of that smokiness arising. You may hear a cough or something. I don't know how it'll come out this time. And as that's releasing, we're going to take it out bioenergetically. And as we do this, I just invite you to tap. I'll take care of it here on this end. I'm just going to move my hand from the heart out to the mouth, giving this a few slow, deep breaths. Yeah, and as we get to the collarbones, I'm just going to let that energy know it's safe to let this go now. You're safe now. So move it over that little belt of fear that's there, and then keep it rising up to and out. And as that releases, I also see it clearing the haziness from that smoke that was creating cloudiness or murkiness or confusing type of energy. As this releases, it's also releasing the worry of the heart, the worries of the heart, that I'll be abandoned again, that I'll be betrayed again. I can't risk opening up again. What if I just get hurt one more time? And as you breathe in this all, connecting once again to the energy of hearts. And noticing what's here, noticing what you're present to now. And as we do that, inviting in all the healthy resources that circulate through our system, including blood that carries our passion, nerve or communication, lymph that drains those toxins, gunk, waste, low self-esteem, overthinking, overanalyzing, chi or vitality, consciousness or awareness, right down out into all the little guys, the electrons, protons, solitons, neutrons. Also working with the sounds, the colors, the frequencies of all the chakras, major and minor, endorphins, hormones, endocannabinoids that lower that inflammation, anxiety, depression, that help all of our systems of our body to heal. Also working with the balancing of yin and yang, the heart's overall yin, but it's also very heavy in the yang. Yeah, the heart chakra balances the two. That's the job of the chakra. Yeah. The meridian is primarily yin, but everything that has yin also has yang within it. As it finds that right balancing point for it, running a permissions, it is safe to be me. It is safe to be received as me. And then we're linking that into when you were born and how you felt received. Did you feel wanted, loved, supported, cared for, nurtured, nourished? Was there a challenge or two? For most of us on that other side, there's some shock after being through the journey of that birth canal. And that shock tends to color our perception of how it is we're being received. It tends to set the stage for our senses to become already misinterpreting and being misinformed about how others are in relationship to us. That lens of shock tells us, or how whatever that's here, I'm using shock as a very general term, it tells us that others might not be as loving as they actually are. So as we release this shock energy, we're releasing it from the kidney 27 acupuncture points, which hang out just above the heart, working with switching technique and body talk, helping to cope or deal with the stress, as well as releasing the shock of trauma. And this can also tie into other forms of trauma, although we're just doing it in this form. At a very foundational point in life, it can also release as it ties into all those different notes and tones and flavors of other instances that may carry that note of abandonment, betrayal, shock, rejection. And as we work with this, we're also aligning that sphenoid bone, the most important bone in the whole skull, making sure that on the other side of birth or a C-section, however you came out, that it is at its peak point of tensegrity. And tensegrity just means all the different parts are equally supporting the load, so not one thing gets weighed down. And with that, creating space for the brain, the head brain, to feel supported and doesn't need to struggle to fight to express itself or to dominate the heart in any way, shape, or form. It also allows it just to be as it is. And giving that all a few slow, deep breaths, tapping this in here. This series has carried a strong tone and flavor of birth, not by intention. It just seems to what have arisen with this series. This is my third time doing it. Haven't seen it roll out quite like this before. So this is a unique little group experience. And because of that, I felt very moved and drawn to share one particular piece of music with you. Okay? And it ties in a lot of these elements that we've been speaking about birth. So I invite you just to stay as you are, if you have space and time to do so. Okay? And just breathing this in. And I promise to share that poem with you. I'm going to just end this series before we dive into the integration pieces, mind you, in the next couple of sessions. And I'll post those in the course too, if that timing is a little bit difficult for anyone to get to, so you can access the recordings there. The poem is by Victor Hugo, and it's called just simply Man and Woman. Man is the highest of creatures. The woman is the most sublime of ideals. God made for man a throne for with the woman at an altar. The throne exalts, the altar sanctifies. Man is the brain, the woman's heart. The brain produces the light, the heart produces the love. Fruitful light, love resurrects. The man is strong by reason, the woman is invincible by tears. The reason convinces, tears moving. Man is capable of all heroism, women of all martyrdom. Heroism ennobles, sublimates martyrdom. Man has supremacy, the woman's preference. Supremacy is strength, represents the right preference. The man is a genius, the woman an angel. Genius is immeasurable, the angel indefinable. The aspiration of man is supreme glory. The aspiration of woman is extreme virtue. The glory makes everything great. Virtue makes everything divine. Man is a code, a gospel woman. The code corrects, the gospel perfects. Man thinks, she dreams. To think is to have a larva in the skull. Dream is to have a halo on his forehead. Man is an ocean, the woman is a lake. The ocean has the adorning pearl, the lake dazzling poetry. Man is the flying eagle. She is the nightingale that sings. Flying is dominant space. Sing is to conquer the soul. The man is a temple, the woman is a tabernacle. Before the temple, we discover ourselves. We kneel before the tabernacle. In short, the man is placed where the land ends, the woman where heaven begins. Now, regardless of being man, woman, those energies of masculine, feminine that we're all roughly 50-50 of are here within us. Bringing those into union is the heart. It's been my heart's desire to share this all in this way with you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for calling in this work. And thank you for continuing to integrate it with our next couple of sessions that are arising here. Thank you for your courage in doing this work. It's not for the faint of heart. No pun intended, although that did come out kind of perfect for the heart series. And as we work with integrating this all, I look forward to hearing more of how this is going for you all. Feel free to share. And Buddhas and Butterflies is officially open. So for those of you looking for that deeper dive, I invite you to join me. I do keep the class capped at a certain number, at 50, and we already have some people in it. So if you would like a spot in it, now is a good time to do that. Plus, you also get a couple of bonuses, and you'll see that on the website for people who are signing up in the next couple of days. I should be specific. Starting up before Saturday midnight MDT time zone. All right, y'all. It's truly been a blessing and an honor to share in this journey, in this way with you all. And I look forward to however our paths may cross again. Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you made it live too. You're most welcome. If anyone would like to unmute, you're more than welcome to take that off. I can't do it on this end, but you can on yours, and we can all hear each other's voices and expressions of our heart if you feel so called to.
Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome.
I think this is a good time to sign up for the Buddhas and Butterflies.
Yeah, if you're feeling the call, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Love
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be here. Thank you.
I want to thank Fiona for introducing me to you, Allison. This is my first venture on your website here. She just told me about it the other day. And what a fabulous session. Thank you so, so much. I resonated with all of it. Thank you so much for offering what you do.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here.
It's helping us body talkers stay together and all the other intuitive modalities. So thank you for offering this platform to bring us together.
Thank you. Always happy to support in that way. Thank you. I love seeing all your smiling faces. Not caught it, honestly. Oh, it's just beautiful to see. I'm going to stop the recording now, but we can hang out for as long as we like.